Let's pick up where we left off with the others on Diddy. There's a woman named Nicole Westmoreland who's a lawyer for Combs. She happens to be black, which is relevant to what I'm going to tell you. She's standing up, like arguing for his life, basically trying to get the sentence to the bare minimum. It continues her emotional appeal to the judge. I think we're quoting here from CNN still, or the New York Times, through sniffles and tears, by insisting that her client was indeed remorseful. Quote, "I will tell you that Mr. Combs has been sitting in a jail cell for 13 months, she said. He's clear-headed. He's drug-free. He's determined. He's focused, and he's remorseful. I can look the court in the eye and tell you that he's remorseful because I spend almost every single day speaking to Mr. Combs. Your Honor, he gets it, simply put," said Miss Westmoreland. So are you starting to feel a little wobbly on, a harsh sentence for Diddy, Arthur?
Well, the one thing I can tell you is she probably did talk to him every day. Megyn, in the very beginning of his arrest, of his legal problems, I was asked if I wanted to go meet with him to be retained on the case. And I was like, sure, why not? They're like, well, we just got to let you know one thing. I was like, what? They're like, one of his requirements is, and I don't remember, it was like he wanted me there 4 days a week in prison or 5 days a week in prison to visit him. I said, look, I'm not in prison. He's in prison. So I do know he gets a lot of attention from his lawyers in the MDC, which is just not a very fun place for a lawyer to be, except if you have singles on you, because then you get to go to the sandwich and potato chip machine and buy your client a sandwich and potato chips, and they're very, very happy and grateful for that. That's like the big deal when you go in.
What kind of sandwich
to the MDC
can you get in
to
there?
see someone. It's not bad. It's a refrigerated machine, and they load it up, and they even have a couple of kosher sandwiches for the Orthodox clients.
What a
so you
low
can get some turkey,
bar,
you can get some roast beef.
Those sandwiches are disgusting. They're there for
especially
rotating.
for an Italian.
No,
from Brooklyn. He knows how to eat.
Compared to the food that they're actually getting in the MDC, they're thrilled with those sandwiches.
They do shake us down for dollars.
I will tell you this, and between Mark and I, we've done dozens and dozens and dozens of these federal sentencings, and because it's really what you do in federal court now, a lot. It's a lot of plea bargaining and then sentencing, and unlike state court where you could cut a deal with the prosecutor, in federal court you could only cut a guideline range with the prosecutor, and then the judge decides the ultimate sentence. And I don't know how I would feel about having 4 different lawyers speak to the judge on behalf of the client's behalf. I think in my opinion, it's maybe 2 if you split one up. Like, I'll talk about who the individual is, and then my partner will talk about the actual crime or what they were convicted of or if they weren't convicted of. I heard you say earlier, there's no crying in the courtroom. I mean, I have handled some very, very sad cases, and I've become very somber. But I've never shed a tear.
There's no crying.
Only when
just a league of their own.
I'm not going to lie, Megyn.
Sir. She's crying.
One of the few times the only time I cried, and I waited until I got in the hallway, is when I represented someone who I knew was absolutely innocent, factually innocent. And when I got to hear not guilty 43 times,
I did the same.
Go in the hallway and cry.
I did the same.
Oh, that's nice. Like tears of relief.
Enormous.
Well,
that's just humor. I think this is
judge.
manufactured. I think this woman's playing. She thinks it's 2020 post George Floyd, and that if she is a black woman turns on the waterworks about how much Sean Combs has contributed to the world and the thought of him going behind bars after being such an inspo, she's hoping to touch something in the judge's heart that I doubt is there.
Well, Megyn, let me tell you, if you're scoffing is because you think that maybe he doesn't deserve those words and maybe it's manufactured, that's fair. But what she's doing is ensuring due process. And that is, she's got to do her job. And Arthur and I will do whatever it takes if we think it's going to help our client. In this case, obviously, she is telling the judge, I promise you, I'm there every day, and he has changed. Now, whether that's real or not, who knows? Maybe she does believe it, but believability and accuracy are 2 different things. Maybe that's what she's relaying to the judge, that she's seeing in Diddy, that Diddy's just turning it on. Or maybe he did change. The point is, that's her job. Her job is to do whatever she can for the client. I don't think it's going to matter one bit to this judge. I think he's already got his mind made up. I think that he's heard all of this before. They're used to it. They check the boxes. In all these cases, we make sure our clients accept full responsibility and do all we can to show remorse. Even personal accounts from the lawyers, check that box. We all do it. Ultimately, the judge sat through this trial. He sees the conduct. He'll include what he thinks is relevant and move that towards sentencing and give him what he thinks is appropriate.
And Megyn,
Okay,
you can't
Arthur,
minimize.
let me give you a little bit more color, and then I'll give it to you. CNN reporting that, again, Westmoreland is discussing charter school. I'm sorry, this is so obvious. It's like this judge he didn't just fall off the turnip truck. Discussing the charter schools that Sean Combs opened in impoverished communities where she says the public schools were inadequate. Also, a vote or die campaign that Combs participated in, quote, changed the way voting campaigns happen to this day. He basically is responsible for changing the way we vote.
Hold on. Put aside Diddy. I don't like Diddy at all. I don't like what he's done, all that stuff. But she's doing her job. If God forbid it was someone
I'm doing
you
mine
love
and mocking her.
There, that's
all right. So hold on,
fair.
Mark. But here's the thing. First of all, I just have to say, because I'm looking at the shot, that verdict I cried on, that's the picture right over my shoulder, right before the verdict was
the little
read.
small one with the orange background?
Yep. That's me sitting there. The client is cool as a cucumber. I was a mess. But anyway.
And here's mine, by the way. This is actually me crying when Scott Peterson, not Garagos's Peterson, but the other one, the alleged coward of Broward, whatever, who was innocent. And finally, you get that relief because the jurors who took 4 days should have taken 4 minutes. And you finally get the outcome.
The one from the Stoneman Douglas.
That was the bragging portion of the show from Arthur Aidala and Mark Eiglarsh. We're telling you what great lawyers we are.
But you know what? It is further evidence. You guys are the real deal. You both were prosecutors, now defense attorneys. You're in court all the time. That's why you work so well on Kelly's Court and on MK True Crime, because you actually know what you're talking about, unlike half the legal eagles we see on TV who never practiced law or who just went to law school for a couple of years. Go ahead, Arthur.
Let me address what's going on with her bragging about P. Diddy's, accomplishments in life. If he was not a public figure, you would say, Your Honor, I know you've read our 40-page report and all the letters and all that. I'm not here to gild the lily, and I know you understand all that. And maybe you do like a little top 3 list. But, I think what really stands out is he started his own chapter of the Boy Scouts. However, and Mark and I have both been in this position, when you represent a high-profile client and there's going to be media in there, often the client says to you, can you please say A, B, and C, and that I did this and I helped cure cancer and I did St. Jude's children thing, because the Daily News and the Post, they're not going to read your 100-page submission, but they are going to be in the courtroom. And please, for me and for the sake of my wife and my children, can you please make sure the media hears all the good things I did? So sometimes
he's basically like gild away. Here's the lily.
Yeah,
have at it.
Right.
Oh, of course.
Let them hear how great I am.
Arthur, can you mention to the judge that I said God bless you to someone who sneezed this morning? Whatever it takes.
Right. You're talking about jail time, so I get that. We mentioned this in the first segment, Mark, but what do you make of this? Because the prosecutor, Christy Slavic, did get up there and they're reporting that she earned some wide eyes and opened mouths when she told the judge Sean Combs has booked speaking engagements in Miami for next week, seemingly under the expectation that he would be let off with a life sentence. That is the height of hubris, she said to the court.
No.
Not good.
No.
Don't.
Listen. I would get up there and say, Judge,
they were Zoom appearances.
They were
Zoom appearances, Judge. Zoom from prison, Judge. Zoom appearances.
God, no, you cannot let that happen. You would have to say that is not accurate at all. Period, Judge, and just
what if they have it on tape from his jailhouse call?
Oh, boy, that's bad.
Yeah, no, that is really bad. I mean, it's really because all of that stuff that she's saying and that he wrote about remorse and I'm back and I'm good and I'm prayerful and that just is like, and I'm going to get out of here and I'm already got a gig lined up and I'm going to put some money in my pocket. Yeah, But
I give this judge more credibility. I give him more credit than that. That type of stuff is not what he's going to consider when it comes time to make this sentence. I think he sat through and saw a lot of abhorrent conduct, a lot that he was acquitted for. But if he can ever bring any of that in and sprinkle it and label it relevant conduct and get him up to the 7 years or so that probation is recommending, I think that's where he's going to land.
Did you know gold is up around 40% this year? That's not speculation, that is reality. And if a portion of your savings is not diversified into gold, you're missing the boat. Here are the facts. Inflation, still too high. The US dollar, still too weak. And the government debt is still growing. This is why central banks are flocking to gold. They're the ones driving prices up to record highs. But it's not too late to buy gold from Birch Gold Group and get in the door right now. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. You don't pay a dime out of pocket. Just text MK to 989898 and claim your free info kit. There's no obligation. There's just useful information. The best indicator of the future is the past, and in this case, the present. Gold has historically been a safe haven, and it's doing gangbusters right now. So text MK to 989898 right now to claim your free info kit on gold. Text MK to 989898. Protect your future today with Birch Gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.